Good morning. Happy Wednesday morning. It's 11 a.m., which means it's Real Estate Chat with me, Jennifer Ho. Hope all of you are well. I have had a lot of requests regarding putting in offers. As you know, it's a seller's market. So I had a lot of people messaging me saying, oh my God, I've lost an offer again. This is a third house I've lost. Could you give us some tips? So this is why I'm doing this episode today about putting in offers on a seller's market. What does it mean when someone says it's a seller's market? It basically means there's a lot more buyers than there is houses for sale. So, what do you need to do to even have a shot on winning a bid on a house that you may end up liking? So, this is what I do for my clients. If there is a house that I know my client would really like, what I will do even before they come to see the house is I'm actually going to do some comps. Comps mean I wanted to make sure I am going to do some research to find out how much do similar homes have sold, how long did it take for them to sell, because I want to be able to know as much about the house before you put in an offer. But that's just me. I always do my due diligence as your agent. Now, okay, then you're able to see a house. Another thing though, actually, I would say before you start looking at houses, one of the most important thing you need to do as a home buyer is to speak to a lender. Right now, you're competing with cash offers, so you need to be able to come prepared as much as possible. So number one, you need to talk to a lender. What are the things you need to discuss with the lender? You need to know what your price range are. What they're going to factor in when you speak to a lender, they have to make sure, like all in costs, other than the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, all that gets factored in. And then before they're able to tell you, hey, your budget, you could go buy a house between $600,000 to $700,000. That price range is very important when we go look at homes. Now, another thing you need to talk to a lender is that how long will it take for them to give you the mortgage? Do they need 60 days? Can they do things 30, 45 days? When at the height of COVID, the last year or in like 2020, the lenders, they were so bombarded with mortgages and refinancing, they ended up taking more than 45, 60, more than that. So you need to know how long will it take your lender to be able to give you the mortgage. If they say, hey, guess what? I can close in 45 days. If that's the case, then you could basically, when you put in an offer, you could say closing date 45 to 60 days. You always want to give yourself a range. Don't be too set on a date because things happen. Another thing you need to discuss about with your lender is that how long before they could give you a commitment. The commitment is very important because if you're competing with cash buyers and you're putting in a mortgage contingency, you need to let the seller know, hey, I'm pre-qualified. The bank can guarantee my loan or can give me a commitment. If you're closing in 45 days, let's say, for example, my bank can give me a commitment between 15 and 30 days. Then your mortgage contingency is not going to be that long. But you need to know all that. Which is why having to talk to a lender is number one priority before you even look at houses, before you put in an offer, because all those data makes you more competitive when you put in your offer. There are certain lenders like NEAT Loans, that's NEAT Loans. My friend Jimmy, I've interviewed him and Justin a couple of weeks back. And one of the things that's quite interesting about what they do is when you start your loan process with them, you actually get the commitment between 24 to 48 hours, which means you actually are as good as being a cash buyer, even if you're actually getting a mortgage. So that might be something you want to look into. And I think they're starting to be very competitive with their rates, but definitely give them a call or talk to a lender and talk your lender and see if they could do the same thing. So that's the first thing you need to do. Now, you've done all that. You got your mortgage. You already spoke to a lender. You already have your pre-approval letters and all that. a couple of things you need to make a decision as a family, or what you need to do is find out, when do you want to close? If you're flexible, that's good, because sometimes when sellers right now have family and their kids are in school, they may not want to close until after the school year is done. If you're flexible, make that known to your agent, because that might be something that's very important to the seller. You have to understand, it's like when you're putting in an offer, the price is not the only thing a seller looks at. They actually look at the complete package. So if you're willing to adjust your closing, then let your agent know. Another thing that you might want to do, so that's the closing date. When you put in an offer, one of the things you need to do is you have to have a building inspection. I know a lot of agents or some people tell you, hey, don't put a building inspection contingency. The seller's not going to like that. As an agent that represents buyers a lot, it is very, very important that you do a building inspection. It may be for informational purposes. If you really, really love the house, you'll just say, hey, I don't care what's wrong with the house, I just want it. That's fine, but you still want to do a building inspection, because you do not want any surprises when you buy a home. I just had the situation a month ago when my client, they bought a house, but what came up in the inspection is something that I've never had before in my 19 years of experience as an agent. What happened was, when we did the inspection, there was something wrong with the chimney. To a point that if my buyers basically ended up using the fireplace, carbon monoxide can actually start going in the house and you don't even know it. And as you all know, this could be something that could be very serious and deadly. And at the same time, it can cause a fire. So if you do not know that there's a problem with the house, then that could actually be dangerous. So I always highly recommend, no matter what your budget is, or cash buyer or whatever it is, you don't care about the condition of the house, I still would highly recommend to do a building inspection. If the house has septic, have a septic guy check and inspect the septic. Having a septic is not a big deal. My house, I have well and septic. I've lived there for 20 years and I have no problem with it. But I did do a septic inspection before I bought the house. Another thing you might want to do in the inspection is do a radon test. So those things, things that you might want to look into. And then when you put in an offer and you are going to get a mortgage, you might want to put in a mortgage contingency. Why is that important? Because if you're getting a mortgage, you want to tell the sellers, hey sellers, by the way, I am getting a mortgage. My lender told me that I can have the commitment between 15 and 30 days, but for any reason I don't get my mortgage, let's say in 30 days, you actually can back out of the deal and you're able to get your deposit back. So having a mortgage contingency would be a good idea to have on your offer. But I do have to let you know, I know in a seller's market, you feel like you have to give all that up. It's your choice. If you say, you know what, I don't really care. If I lose my deposit, that's fine. I don't want to put in mortgage contingency. But my job as your agent is I want to make sure, my job is to always have your best interests at hand. But if you tell me ahead of time, I don't really care about that, I just want the house, then it's something that we will talk about. Now, what does it mean when it says highest and best? There's like 15 different offers. You're going to be one of them. There's a deadline, let's say tomorrow, 5 p.m. What are you going to do? How do I decide on a number that, if I put in an offer? I know some agents would say, put in 20% above asking, put in 10% above asking. My answer to that is, how much are you comfortable with in buying a house? You have to have a hard stop. For example, after talking to your lender, they tell you you can afford anything between $600,000 to $700,000. If $700,000 is your absolute stop, then it would not make sense to go beyond that. But one of the things I would recommend, if you talk to your lender, sometimes that 50,000 above asking is only $100, $200 on a monthly payment. So those are the things that you might want to talk to your lender. That's why I always say number one step, talk to your lender, because these are the informations you're going to need for any reason you are going to have to pay over asking price. You have a hard limit, like a hard stop on where you know how the highest you want to go. At the same time, I always tell my buyers, if your budget is, let's say, 700,000 and you found out that the house sold for 705, even like 701, will you be very upset that you lost the house for $1 more, $5,000 more, $10,000 more? That number, that to me is how I would compute my hard stop when it comes to what's the maximum I'm willing to pay. So again, just to wrap it up, if you are putting in an offer on a seller's market, you really need to talk to a lender. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Find out when you could close. If one of the things that may not be a good idea is like, or not really good idea, one of the things, like if you have to sell a house first before you buy a house, you need to let them know. But again, on the other hand, as a seller, I would choose, some of the sellers that I work with would not sell the house to someone that have to sell their house. Again, each seller is different, but if you are putting in any offer, either seller's market or not, first thing you need to do, talk to a lender. Find out how much, how much what your pricing range is, what's the maximum you could go just in case you have to go beyond your budget. How much is that going to cost you monthly? How long can they close? How long can they give you the commitment? That's number one. Secondly, whether it's a multiple offer or not, for your protection, always do a building inspection. That includes septic, well, radon. And three, if you're getting a mortgage, put a mortgage contingency on just to protect yourself. But if you're 100% sure and then you're okay with, for any reason, you don't get a mortgage, for any reason, it doesn't get appraised and all that, then if you're okay to losing that deposit, then go ahead, just have no contingencies at all. But I always urge for everyone to do an inspection when you're buying a house. Even if it's a new construction. New construction doesn't mean there's no problem. Because for any reason, there's like a flood issue. If it's a flood zone and everything, you want to know that ahead of time. Anyway, so that's it. I hope you find this episode useful. If you have any questions, please feel free, message me, text me. I'm here. I'm more than happy to help you. If you know anyone who is moving, either here or relocating anywhere else, I am a relocation specialist. I have a client right now who is moving to Miami, so I'm trying to help her find an agent, make sure she has everything she needs. I'm here for you. My name is Jennifer Ho. I'm an agent with Douglas Elliman. I've been an agent for 19 years now, and I am more than happy to help you with any of your real estate needs. You need a plumber? Call me. Anything like that. My name is Jennifer Ho. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share. Join me next week. My podcast is like every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. You want any topics for me to talk about, just send me an email and I'll be more than happy to look into it. Take care, enjoy, be well, stay safe. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining. Have a good day. Bye.